Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news and news on this Thursday morning. As revealed, we have shocks around Manchester United's striker decision. Apparently Gonçalo Ramos of Benfica and Portugal fame was on the transfer list for Manchester United but was deemed an alternative to Rasmus Højlund. He will now move to PSG, who wanted Rasmus Højlund. What are your thoughts on that? Also, Todibo, the Marseille centre-back that Manchester United have been looking at, could be on a move to another club. That would be Ten Hag's top 3 centre-back targets this summer, all going to one of the clubs. Also, big announcements coming in on Højlund and Mason Greenwood. We'll talk about that, as well as a bit of an update on Jadon Sancho, Fred, Dean Henderson, Harry Maguire, and a few other bits as well. So welcome to the morning show on the United Stand. And as always, well, not always, but as last night, we have been sponsored on this tour period of Manchester United by Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Fantastic products. They do the lawnmower for down there. They do the weed whacker for up the nose. And they've now got this beauty. Absolutely fantastic. Gary Barlow would say absolutely incredible. In fact, Gary Barlow would say, don't use my name in association with a sponsor that I'm not sponsored by. I want my 20%. So we won't say that. But what we will say is, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. It's Manscaped. Fantastic products. I had a shave with this yesterday. It's just brilliant. I might do a live shave on my face, actually, because it's just so fast. It's got so many different lengths. Really powerful. Brilliant products delivered to your door. 20% off. Free worldwide shipping with the code United Stand. Get yourself sorted with Manscaped, or trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Fantastic products. Good to see everybody in the chat. Magray says that bedroom looks hideous. Good. If it puts you off coming in my bedroom, it's done the job, mate. You're never going to be invited into my bedroom. So that's brilliant. The more you hate my bedroom, the better. It's not my bedroom anyway. Thanks everyone and welcome to the show. Lots to get into. I feel that we might get that sort of vibe this morning. I said it last night. Obviously, we will have to talk about Mason Greenwood because an announcement is coming in. There's more and more rumours last night that he's going to be staying at Manchester United. And look, I respect the people who have their opinion on that. And I think it's just about time I had my opinion on it because people just misinterpret it. So I'm just going to give you a very blunt opinion on the Mason Greenwood situation because I'm tired of being called a rapist supporter. I'm tired of being called a hater. It seems to me people seem to want to put me on one side or the other. So I'm going to firmly put myself on one side this morning. And I couldn't give a shit what people say because it's going to be my opinion. I'm certainly not a rapist supporter. I'm certainly not having my past occupation thrown into a decision I have about a footballer. You can jog on. For nearly 10 years we've done this channel now and we've never skirted away from topics that, apparently we do. There's plenty of people out there who are cowards. They won't even say whether they want Sir Jim or they want Qatar because they're too busy waiting to see which side wins and who they can kiss arse on and make money from. And I'm talking about certain ex-players there. So, look, they'll never say anything about Mason Greenwood because they're terrified about their PR. There's a lot of fans that won't do that. We've consistently spoken about this topic from day one. I talked you through what happened when he was arrested, why it was happening. I said when the case was dropped, that doesn't mean he's innocent. That just means that the case has been dropped. He never even went to court, so you can't say he was innocent or not. But people seem to want to twist the words. So I'm just going to tell you what I think the club should do, what I think I should do, and what I would do. Morning, Mark. Might have broke my wrist in goals last night. Got the brace on and my fingers are crossed, says Cypher. Well, I hope you're doing better, mate. But let's get into some big Manchester United transfer news first of all. So we're going to talk about Rasmus Højlund to start off with. A little bit of breaking news that Manchester United, I think Fabrizio said it, but a few people have said it. And if I've said Fabrizio and misquoted him, I apologise. But it doesn't really matter in some sense. Ramos of Benfica was always a striker that was available this summer, as we know. Apparently, he was Manchester United's alternative to Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund is going to sign for Manchester United. We're expecting that to be announced around the Lens game on Saturday lunchtime. Obviously, as we said last night, we would like it to have happened before. But he has been chosen as the striker for Manchester United. Apparently, Ramos of Benfica was the alternative if we didn't get Rasmus Højlund. Now, PSG wanted Højlund. We got him. they've moved to Ramos now. There's a few people out there, quite rightly, with a different opinion saying, I wish we'd spent a little bit more and gone for Ramos. I think Ramos is a better striker than Rasmus Højlund. Well, look, there's two things I'd say about that. Where's Mawani in this game? Because Mawani was on the list quite high up and was always on the list, even when it was Harry Kane and Osimhen. Mawani was there. So I'm a bit confused how we would go from Rasmus Højlund to Ramos when Mawani was always an option as well. Secondly, I would take Rasmus Højlund over Ramos. There's not a massive amount in age difference, but it's the profile of the striker. I think in Rasmus Højlund, whilst I think we can turn him into an out-and-out striker, I think he's got more strings to his bow in relation to potential, physicality, ability to run the channels, ability to carry the ball. What I'm saying is I'm very happy with Rasmus Højlund. And look, if you would prefer we'd gone for Ramos, that's absolutely fine. He's a good striker. But I'm more than happy with Rasmus Højlund, and I think that's the right decision that Ten Hag has made. The is with Mason is it wasn't proven he did anything, says the Carl. And it's because he didn't go to court, mate. Can I visit your bedroom, Mark? I want to jump on the bed and drain the minibar, says Avram Glazer. But also, I don't know whether you saw, I think Rio Ferdinand has said that Man United fans need to be patient with Rasmus Højlund. He could be a little bit like Darwin Núñez, where it's a bit of a slow burning start. I completely disagree with Rio on this one. Probably not for the first time, but I completely disagree with this. We're Manchester United. We don't need to downplay a new signing. We don't need to say, let's be patient with him, he could be crap for the first year. We don't need to do that. We're Manchester United fans. Before Rio even signed for us or supported Manchester United fans would be patient with new signings. We don't need to be told he might be shit for a year, he might take time to adjust. We know that. I read like Stan Collymore. Don't know why he came up on my feed yesterday as an article talking about Rasmus Højlund, and he was saying, you know, what a good player he is, how he thinks he'll settle in, and he's at the perfect place because Man United fans are renowned for being patient with their signings. So we don't need to do. I don't want that attitude, and I don't think Rasmus Højlund wants that attitude. I don't want that sort of, oh well, let's be majorly patient. He might be really shit at the start. I think if you know anything about the player, and I suppose that's my frustration with this, if anybody actually knows anything about the player and about Rasmus Højlund, Darwin Núñez is not Rasmus Højlund. Like, why do we always have to compare somebody to somebody? Oh, who's better, Haaland or Højlund? Oh, he might have a first season like Darwin Núñez. How's about you learn something about the player? His breakout season was effectively last year. He didn't even play every game for Atalanta. Darwin Núñez had been scoring goals for Benfica the year before he came. Erling Haaland had been scoring goals in the Bundesliga. We're buying a completely different profile of striker to anything that anybody's bought in the last couple of years. He's our project. He's Rasmus Højlund. We don't need to compare. I think what's probably likely, and where I would agree with Rio, is that, yeah, we will have to be patient as a fan base. But I think we probably won't get the consistency because he's only 20 and he's never played in the Premier League. I think we will get what we got with Martial in his first season, where you get these amazing moments and then you get these little drop-offs. I think same as Garnacho. I think we will get that sort of a first season. But I don't for 1 minute think he's going to have a Darwin Núñez first season. And I like Darwin Núñez. And I think Darwin Núñez will come good. But Rasmus Højlund's going to offer a lot more than goals to this team, because he's going to have to. And that's what his attributes are. So look, I'm really excited about it. I expected to do it yesterday in the video, didn't I? I said I was going to tell you how many goals he's going to score in his first Premier League season. I will wait and do that on the announcement video, because I've done a lot of thinking into it. But let me just say, it's going to be more than 10. I think he will be a success. He's not going to score 30 or something like that, but it'll be more than 10. Hi Mark, do you know which friendly game will be the first team, Lens or Bilbao, says Mackenzie? So in relation to the friendly games on the weekend, obviously we'll cover both as a watch along, Saturday lunchtime, Sunday afternoon. The plan is to play semi-strong teams in both, so I think we'll have a good mix in both teams. For example, you might get Lindelof and Maguire at centre-back in one and Varane and Martinez at centre-back in another. You'll get Delo at right-back in one and Wan-Bissaka in another. It'll be that sort of thing. Mark, which other striker do you think we should go for, says Addy? I don't really know. I don't really know what's out there at the moment, but I wouldn't necessarily expect us to go and get another striker at the moment. The second bit of transfer news I want to bring you is the story around Todibo. I think I probably pronounced it wrong, but Carl is right. Højlund will be a pressing monster. Yeah, I mean, he's just a different profile of striker to Darwin Núñez and Erling Haaland, and I don't think we need to compare, and I think it's lazy punditry when people do that. I mean, I've done it. I still do it. It's lazy. We don't need to do that. But Juventus are in for Todibo of Marseille. Now, if he goes to Juventus, and Fabrizio is saying that Man United are still monitoring that situation, you're damn right we're monitoring that situation, because going into this summer transfer window, Ten Hag wanted to sell Maguire and buy Kim Min-jae, Disasi or Todibo. Now, if Todibo goes to Juventus, that means Ten Hag has missed out on not one, not two, but his three top centre-back targets. And I think it gets to a point where if that happens, you've got to sort of say, I mean, is it worth even going for a fourth choice centre-back? I mean, do you just... What do you do? But it's a sad indication on what is apparently a great transfer window for Manchester United, but ultimately isn't in relation to centre-backs, because we put a lot of work into oh my God, I can't believe Sky is still doing this. Is appalling. Absolutely appalling. Sky Cave, Haaland versus Højlund. At this stage of his career, Haaland had scored 65 goals in 95 games. Højlund has scored 27 goals in 87 games. God, people, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you and your mainstream media diarrhea. What a load of... no wonder content like this does so well these days. It's absolute shite. I was having a chat with Jim White about this on Friday. Oh my God. What's happened to mainstream? It's trash journalism. It's absolutely terrible. It's disgusting. It's like going to the cinema and wanting to watch The Godfather and they put Jason Statham on. It's crap. It's absolute rubbish. It's simpleton news. That's what it is. Who watches that shit? Why are they... You may as well compare Marcus Rashford to Saka. They don't even play on the same bloody wing. This is bloody counting by numbers football. Absolutely stupid. What? Whoa! Haaland begins with a H. Højlund begins with a... You can imagine the producer on his way in this morning. Got a great idea for the show this morning. Haaland begins with H. Højlund begins with H. They both play in Manchester. Denmark's near Norway. They've both got blonde hair. Let's compare them. Go compare. Let's see if Go Compare will sponsor it as well. Look, great idea. This is gonna bang. It'll bang for the wrong fucking reasons. Viral content doesn't mean it's good content. Trust me, I'm aware of that. Look at me in pictures when we lost 7-0. For the millionth time, comparing Højlund to Haaland is like comparing Harry Kane to Messi, in the sense that they both score goals, but they're completely different players. They are not similar. Erling Haaland is a world-class, probably the best penalty box striker in the game. Powerful, strong finisher. Rasmus Højlund is young, different, not prolific in front of goal yet. All about the press, all about the build-up, all about carrying the ball, aggression, eager to learn. Only had one breakout season. Haaland's a phenom. He's phenomenal. Rasmus Højlund is not Erling Haaland. They're different players. It's as simple as that. And I detest that sort of comparison. And there's no logic to it either. Who's better, Haaland or Højlund? Who's better? The guy who just smashed the bloody Premier League goal scoring record in his debut season, or the guy who's just only had a breakout season at Atalanta? On any level, it's absolutely ridiculous. But United fans will resist it because it's stupid. What they're trying to do is just... Well, I don't know what they're trying to achieve, to be honest. Anyway, going back to Todibo. This was Man United's and Erik Ten Hag's third choice centre-back. Obviously, Kim Min-jae, we put a lot of work in on and we missed out. Disasi's gone to Chelsea. I never knew anything about Disasi, I've got to be honest. I know a little bit more about Todibo, to be honest. That doesn't mean he's better than Disasi. I just didn't really know anything about him, which concerns me for a 25-year-old. But he's gone to Chelsea. Juventus are interested in Todibo. People have called him the next Varane. Again, I don't know. I don't think he's the next Varane. I just think he's French and he's a young centre-back. I think that's what it's all about. But it's interesting because United cannot move for him and they couldn't move for Disasi because they haven't got the money and Harry Maguire won't leave. So, look, there's no doubt that Ten Hag wanted another centre-back. Absolutely no doubt about it. And there's no doubt that he would like to sell Harry Maguire. But as things stand, we haven't even sold Fred or Donny or Henderson yet. So, Ten Hag, look, it's an area he wanted to improve that we may well not improve. And all three, he's given a good list of targets. When you want a player in a certain position and you give your CEO and your director of football 3 targets, you expect to get one of them. And the fact that all 3 of them might be going to other clubs is a little bit disappointing. Which new signing do we think the Glazers will introduce on the pitch before the Wolves game to distract the fans from protesting, says Glennie. Well, as long as it's not Mason Greenwood, I think it might be all right. Jolly, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. And hi, Mark. Who do you think is the highest ceiling, Garnacho or Højlund? Love your work, says Kenk. Again, I don't really care because they're different players. It would be like saying to me back in the mid-90s, who's got the highest ceiling, Ryan Giggs or Paul Scholes? They're just different players. One's a winger and one's an attacker. It doesn't matter to me. They're both Manchester United players, and I don't really like differentiating between United players anyway. People will do this about Sancho and Anthony. Who do I want to win? Who do you want to win between Sancho and Anthony? I don't care, because I would rather have Sancho and Anthony playing absolutely brilliant and not knowing who's going to win than one of them be shit and one of them be average. And I think at the moment, I just want players to succeed in a Manchester United shirt because we've got some good I was going to talk about Jadon Sancho a little bit later, but he is so well liked in that club, so many players like Jadon Sancho. And there was even a little clip a couple of weeks ago about music and banter and all this, that and the other, and there was various United players sort of saying who does this the most. He is really well liked in that team, and I really hope he can succeed, but ultimately, it's about what Erik Ten Hag wants, isn't it? Which game this weekend is first team priority, says Stephen? I don't know. I don't know whether we're looking at it like that. I really don't know whether Ten Hag will look at it like that. I'm not too sure. Mark, we should want our young players to improve and do well and support them when they struggle in a United shirt, says Mark. Well, exactly. I remember this happening with Garnacho just before last Christmas. And there was fans absolutely ripping him apart, and I was like, we shouldn't be doing that with young players. Look, Alanga's gone to Forest. I don't think he was good enough for Man United, but I always said I like Alanga. I think there's a good player there. Obviously, not a United player, but I think there's a good player there. And in many ways, I think he was a bit unlucky that he didn't get the loan move like Ahmad. With the younger players, we should always be looking to improve them. Yeah. Mark, have you seen Real Madrid quotes about the treble? Says Sulite. I haven't, and I'm not too aware about that. But look, I do want to just speak to you about this Mason Greenwood situation because I'm fed up of being taken out of context, if I'm being honest. Yesterday I put a tweet out, and in some ways it doesn't massively matter because we speak about it regularly. We've always spoken about it, and basically. Okay, basically I said this. I put a question out on Twitter yesterday. If Mason Greenwood comes back into the first team, what's your reaction to it? And lots of people have put their reply in. And I basically said, look, my opinion is this, and I tweeted it. My opinion is a year long loan, because this is coming. This Mason Greenwood announcement is coming very, very soon. And some people in the know with connections close to the club are saying that the indication is that he'll be back training with the first team very, very soon. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't know. But this is what I said. I said my preference is a year loan. It's obviously the best choice. It doesn't cause a major shitstorm. doesn't derail our season with media Greenwood obsession, and the player can focus on returning to football away from the mental pressure of the media and the fan backlash, especially the away games in particular, which will be difficult. Okay, I've had so many messages privately and publicly which are vile, from both sides. I've been called a rapist sympathiser. I've been called a woman beater sympathiser. I've also had it from the other side, to be fair, so it's not one-sided. I've also had it from other people saying he should be back in the team, innocent till proven guilty, and all this shit. And I think at the end of the day, look, when you're getting misquoted, then you're better off just saying what you really think. So I'm going to say it. I don't want Mason Greenwood back in a Man United shirt. I don't. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't need to get into the reasons why. A lot of people do. Fair play. I just don't want him back in a Man United shirt. I'm not ready for it. I don't want it. I'm not comfortable with it. It doesn't fit in with how I want to enjoy Manchester United. And I'm not saying that there's players in that squad that have done worse. I don't know whether they have or they haven't. At the end of the day, I always said that information that was put out publicly by his now fiance or girlfriend was not helpful to anybody in the long run. But on a purely footballing sense, I don't want Mason Greenwood back in a Man United shirt at the moment. I don't. That's my stance. I said that back in April, and we're now 4 months on. I personally am not comfortable with it, and I don't really care if people are comfortable about it, and I don't really care if people agree with me. It's my opinion. Respect it. You don't have to agree with it, but I'll be honest with you. If Man United put him back in the first team squad, I think they've dropped an absolute clanger. I think it looks really bad. I think we'll be absolutely torn apart by the media. I think we'll be absolutely torn apart by rival clubs. I think it reflects terribly on Manchester United. And I think it basically will be a business decision because he's worth, on the books, somewhere between 50 and £100 million. And apparently a loan deal is not an option. They're not just going to let him go because it's a financial decision. For me, there is a very clear ambiguity in the fan base on this. There is a very clear divide in the fan base on this. There is a very clear uncomfortableness because of this. I've seen the clips coming out again. I've seen the audio. I've seen the pictures. I never liked it at the time, and I don't like it now. I'm not against rehabilitation. I'm not against second chances. I worked in a job where that's very, very important. But second chances and rehabilitation doesn't mean they have to play up front for my football club. I don't have to be comfortable with that. There's people who've done things like that who, get completely cancelled. He's very lucky that he can have a career again, and I'm sure Man United are going to support him on that. And there's no doubt that the talent is there. But all these people who say, Starboy, put him back in my team, I think they do it from a position of trying to wind people up because they don't know the kid. They don't know anything about him. So how do you know? So basically, you just want him in the team to score goals. He could be an absolute prick. He could be misunderstood. You don't know anything about him. You're just happy to put him in the team to score goals. And that's how I deal with those people because I think they're just very simplistic. They just want a good footballer scoring goals for their team, and that's how they support it. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to get into an argument with you because you want Mason Greenwood back in the team. On the other hand, I'm not going to get into an argument with people who say he should never play football again because I don't agree with that. Which is why, for me, the loan thing is the most appropriate thing because time needs to be had on this. It's way too fresh. It's way too controversial. It's way too toxic. And it is a shitstorm. And I just think, unfortunately, this football club, time and time again, lets us down on key issues. Super League behind our back. The Glazers running the club into the ground. And then things like this, which are actually really serious. They're slow, manipulative. We know there's an interview coming out. We know it's going to be PR and swept under the carpet. And all those people that are against it will just be ignored because that's what United do. They ignore the difficult decision. They ignore the things that hurt and cause trauma to this fan base. They sweep it under the carpet, and the approach is they'll forget about it in the future. So I hope that gives some clarity on what my thoughts are. From a completely business sense, the obvious thing was to loan him out. If you want to retain value and you want to keep him, you've got to push him away for a year. You've got to go and do that. It's so obvious. If you want him straight back in the team, there's going to be a shitstorm. 100%. I'm not comfortable. Like, people say he'll score a goal and you'll celebrate it. I fucking won't. I will sit here on a watch along and I will go 1-0 to Man United, and I'll just go back to that. I'll be like, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not. And I'm not a stubborn person, and I don't think anybody is, and we don't know how we're going to feel in future times. But I'm just not comfortable with it. And I'd sit down and have a chat with him himself, and I'd tell him why I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. But that doesn't mean that, you know, in life, you cannot influence people. You can't do it. Just because I'm not comfortable with it at the moment doesn't mean if you are, you're evil. It doesn't. It just means you've got a different opinion. And it's such, and this is where I think United need to be so careful, because it's such a volatile and passionate topic, and people have different opinions. And God, there are people out there who are resolutely, I don't want him ever playing for United again. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying right here, right now, I'm not comfortable with it. It turns my stomach. And I probably haven't delved deeply into why it turns my stomach, and it probably isn't appropriate to talk about it on a show like this. Suffice to say, I'm not comfortable with it. That's my stance at the moment. So people can misinterpret me, they can misquote me, they can take my tweets out of context. I am not comfortable with Mason Greenwood returning to Manchester United's first team squad. And if the players are, and Ten Hag is, couldn't give a shit. Don't know you, never met you, not sat down and spoken to you. You're football people. Your morals might be in the mud. I don't know. You might be the nicest people in the world. I don't know. I will not be influenced by a manager or a set of players, because I've met a lot of past ones and they ain't great people. I want them to perform on the football pitch. I can form my own opinion, not comfortable with it. There'll be a lot of people who are comfortable with it. There'll be a lot of people who aren't comfortable with it. But I'm telling you now, the club and everybody who wants him back, don't sit there crying when it all goes to shit. Reap the whirlwind you're going to sow, because it's going to be horrible. Some of the messages I've had over the last 24 hours from rival fans and stuff, and United fans, and I'm not Mason Greenwood. You know, you just think, what is going to happen to him and the football club if they get him back training in the first team? It's going to be horrible. And look, some people won't talk about it. They're terrified. I respect everybody in the chat who is putting their opinion in there. I know it will get toxic. I know people will fall out. I don't really care what you say in the chat. Not bothered. If you want him playing up front instead of Rasmus Højlund, that's up to you. If you want him never to play football again, that's up to you. You've got your reasons. It's absolutely fine. But I respect the fact that people will actually talk about it, because this decision is coming. There's no point sweeping it under the carpet. It's coming. It's coming very soon. And all these people that, you know, sit there moaning about De Gea's distribution, but won't talk about stuff like this, you're not a real pundit. You're not a real fan. You're a coward. You won't even say what you want because you're terrified of what people will think about you. And I'm not talking about ex-players or the media. I'm talking about certain fans. You can't have an opinion on one thing and then decide not to have an opinion on something else. You can't be gobby about David De Gea's distribution and then not talk about whether you want Greenwood back in the team, or not talk about whether you want Sir Jim or Qatar. That's cowardly. That's not proper opinion. Real opinion from real fans is the ability to say, this impacts my football club, this is my opinion on it. And of course you don't have to have an opinion on everything. I couldn't give a shit if when I'm out tonight at the restaurant, if it's, you know, chips or thin cut or French fries. I don't need an opinion on that. Give me whatever. But when we're talking about something we're really passionate about, that's definitely going to impact our season, you've got to have an opinion on it. Of course you have. EL says, hi, I'm from Australia. First super chat. Thanks for the great content. If we miss Amrabat, who's your preferred option? Also, can you say hi to my mate? Well, it's interesting about Amrabat, EL, because I saw something today, I think it was in Sport, from a Spanish outlet, linking us to Tchouaméni. Last night we were linked to Goretzka. So I think that there is always we're definitely going to buy a midfielder. I just feel that Amrabat's the right guy. I'm not saying that Amrabat is better than Tchouaméni. I'm not saying that he's better than Goretzka. I think I'd probably be inaccurate on that. But we're going to buy a midfielder. I just think we should get Amrabat. I think there's an element of risk, but there's also another thing there as well. Get your comments in. As long as they're not abusive, it's absolutely fine. Shane says, well said, Mark. There is no way back for him. They should just release him and let him carry on with his life. Just because he has not been charged doesn't mean he isn't guilty, says Shane. that's a strong opinion by Shane, and I think I suppose the alter. Look, I'm here to like try and present a show and be honest with you, which I have been. I'm not comfortable with Greenwood playing for Man United at the moment. I don't want it, but I also understand that the other side to Shane would be he didn't get found guilty. In the eyes of the law, he's not being found guilty of anything. He should be allowed to play football. I want him to play football. I mean, can you argue with that? You can, yes. Can you respect that? Yes. So, look, there's two very distinctive sides here. And we shouldn't be talking about law. The most important thing is that if you go on social media today, you will see the audio and the pictures again of what we all saw a while ago. The most important thing is that that's not fabricated. It's not fake. It never went to court to be proved fake or real or anything like that. So it's in the court of opinion. Now, if you want to decide that that was fake and it's makeup and everything like that, that's up to you. Some would say it's a very naive way to be. But if you want to look at it and go, he did it, it's fucking disgusting, that's up to you as well. It didn't go to court. What people make a mistake is that he's innocent. But it didn't go to court. In the eyes of the law, you're always innocent if you don't go to court because you've not been tried. But that evidence is out there. If your mate goes down the local pub tonight and gets beaten up and you watch it, and he wakes up the next day and says, I'm not going to the police, did he get beaten up because he didn't go to the police and get them found guilty? I'm not answering that question. Did you see him get beat up because he didn't take it to court and that person who did it didn't go to prison? Did he get beaten up or didn't he? It's like I say, it's in the court of public opinion, and it's a very dangerous place to be. I think there's aspects to this. I completely get why people want him back. I can completely get why people don't want him back, and I completely 100% agree that the club have a responsibility to him as an employee to rehabilitate. I would never shift on that. But I don't trust this football club under the Glazers, and I just wonder how different football clubs would deal with this. How would this be dealt with if he was an 18-year-old bang average midfielder that was never going to play for the first team and probably would have ended up at Blackpool? He'd be gone. Is he being treated differently because he's a very good football player? Yes. And that doesn't work for me. So you're being treated differently because you're talented. So basically you're being treated differently because you've got a monetary value. I said this back 18 months ago. I said, however this gets dealt with, what doesn't sit right with me is he'll be dealt with as a talented footballer. And if he wasn't that talented, if he was just a standard youth player or a standard squad player, he'd be gone. This is a monetary decision by Man United and everyone can see through it. Benny says, thank you for taking a position. Well, I think we should all take a position and then try and understand it. Any look. Red Devil says, take a poll. We don't need to take a poll. We've done polls before. It doesn't work like that. I would imagine if we did a poll last time we did it, 65% will want him back. So, maybe it's 70% now, maybe it's 50%. It doesn't really matter because it doesn't work like that. We're not voting for Brexit. We're not voting whether we're going to have Shreddies or Rice Krispies. It's a personal choice. It's as simple as that. Man United won't look at it and go 70% of him want him back, let's keep him, because that 30% could be really vile towards the club and it could cause a lot of problems. Make your own opinion up. When people say let's do a poll, it's because they want to make themselves feel better if they've got the majority. But we're not voting for a new Prime Minister. We're not voting for Brexit. We're voting on something where some very disturbing images and audio were put out publicly. Arguably, they never should have gone out there, but they were. And people can interpret how they deal with that and whether they want that person to play for Man United again. Grow up and make your own decision. It's not a witch hunt, and it's certainly not a popularity contest. It's a personal decision. Make it. And I respect people who do it. It's a complex question. So many parameters that affect. Hope that concerned as well, says Joseph. Thank you. I don't care about his private life. I just want him to ball for my club, says Ferdas. Yeah, and there's a lot of people like you. And I appreciate and thank you for putting the comments out there. Maybe you're doing it to troll people. Maybe you genuinely believe it. I don't know. But there's a lot of people who have that opinion. And it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'm not bothered. You know, I've had somebody wish me dead on Christmas Day on social media. So I've had a lot more personal things than whether people want Mason Greenwood to play up front for Man United again. I'm not interested. Not bothered. It's your choice. I sort of get it in a way. You just want your team to win and score goals, and he's a good player. I get that. It's absolutely fine. And Morg says the majority of fans want Mason back. Well, even if that's true, which I don't think it is, it doesn't matter. So basically what you're saying is that if 9 people want something and one person doesn't, the one person who doesn't is irrelevant. I'd hate to live in your dictatorship, mate. I just don't know why people can't accept that people are going to have different opinions. It's quite scary that we live in a world where, you know, you're not allowed to have different opinions now. Really odd. If the charges are dropped, he's not guilty by law. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't know whether you've been listening to the last 10 minutes. Mark, question for you. Is Ryan Giggs still a legend to you, says GB? In a footballing sense, yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, as I said, like, I'm not here to... Look, I think I'm on safe ground saying this. If those pictures and audio had never gone out, and normally they wouldn't, this thing would be dealt with very differently. So if you look at it like this, if Mason Greenwood was a mid-player who had no chance of playing for the first team, he'd been booted out. We know that. So he's being treated differently because he's talented and he's worth something. So that means the club are prioritising value over morals. Of course, that happens in football. But on the other hand, if that audio and picture had never gone out, I think a lot more people would be happy to have Mason Greenwood back in the team. I mean, this is what I mean. There's so many avenues on both sides. It's not clear cut. That's why people are passionate on one side and people are passionate on the other. If that picture and audio had never gone out, he wouldn't be getting this sort of treatment. Definitely, because people wouldn't have the evidence. The evidence was put out online. That shouldn't really happen, but it did. Some would say, well done for it happening. Now, what about all the footballers out there, of which there will be some, not necessarily at United, but certainly in the Premier League, who have done things like that? Do you think no other footballer in the Premier League has assaulted or done anything bad against another woman? Well, I hope they haven't, but statistically speaking, they probably have. And they're free to get on with their career because it's not out there publicly. So, you know, let's not pretend that every other Premier League footballer is a saint, because that's not the case. And I think the sad thing for me about all this is that ultimately, you know, and it's not football's job to do this, it's yet another sexually criminal, violent potential crime that has gone nowhere. But that's something completely separate. I mean, basically, it might be the same in your country, but the criminal conviction rates for these sort of things are absolutely abysmal. And I don't think it helps, you know, future victims of these types of crimes. But I don't know why I was sort of wandering off there, but effectively what I was trying to say is that there is the side of the argument that if those pictures and audio had never gone out, I think there'd be a very different feeling around this. But look, you know, we've done this before, and I think United just need to make their decision. And as I said, bringing it back to football, apparently Man United are going to make their decision very, very soon. There are people out there that expect him to be back in the first team. I would just say I'm not comfortable with that. It turns my stomach, and I'll just have to get on with it because it's not my choice. And some of you will be very happy about it. I'm just saying, be prepared. I will not be happy about it. I will not be comfortable about it. And I won't be silent about that. And I don't think people should be silent about it. But ultimately, there's nothing I can do. King says, let's kick criminals or alleged criminals out of our communities, neighbours and countries. No second chance, we are saints. Yeah, but I think that's a bit literal, King. I mean, nobody's saying he can't play football again. People are just saying they don't want him to play for Man United. It's very different. No one's saying he can't go and play for Swindon or, Atalanta or something like that. People just don't want him back playing in a Man United shirt. It's not about, he doesn't have to play for Manchester United. He can still be rehabilitated and play football. 3-minute record events. Forgive the Michael Jackson was never found guilty, but would you have let him babysit your kid? Says 3-minute record events. I think of it as, would I want him back if he did that to my daughter, says Ton. And maybe for the greater good that evidence was made public, maybe not for Mason, but for every wife or girlfriend harbouring a secret, says Nick B. Look, I don't want it to turn into that, but ultimately I just wanted to get my stance out there because I was fed up of some of the stuff that was being said about me and being misinterpreted. As a community, you're free to make your own choice. I'm not here to dictate and say you're wrong, you're wrong. Have your opinion. I welcome it. The bottom line is this channel's always been about that. We're not meant to agree. If you love Harry Maguire, it's fine. It's Seb's favourite player. He wants a kit with Harry Maguire on the back. Fortunately, I've got him with the Glazer out stuff at the moment. We can't buy kits. But he loves Harry Maguire. I don't know whether it's the name or whatever, but Seb loves Harry Maguire. Obviously, I'd sell him tomorrow. It's all about opinion. We've always had that tagline. You don't have to agree. Just be respectful. I don't care if you want Mason Greenwood back. I'm not going to start blocking people. I'm not going to start telling you you're wrong. It's fine. All I'm saying is I felt that I personally had to say my opinion. And I don't think many people in my position will. I don't think other channels, other media outlets, other ex-players, I don't think they will say anything because they want to play both sides. They're worried about negative PR. So, I've had my say, and as of now, and I'm not going to say, look, I'm not the sort of person that sticks with one opinion forever because I think that makes you in life very unhappy. But right here, right now, the club should loan him. If they're bothered about money, they should loan him. Dan, welcome to Members Club. Right here, right now. You can put it in the chat. It might be quite therapeutic. What would you do right here, right now if you were in charge of United? I am not comfortable with him back training with the first team. I don't want to see pictures of him running around with everybody in winning teams. It just doesn't feel right. I don't think he deserves that, the team. But, let's wait and see. It's probably coming. And I'm just preparing people for when it happens because when something hits, if you're not prepared for it, things get said that you maybe regret. Anyway, we've spoken about Rasmus Højlund. Højlund should be hypocritical, Mark, says AJ. Mate, I don't like those sort of comments, and I will mention it because I don't know where I'm being hypocritical. I probably spent too long talking about something. People are probably quite bored. I've been very clear on what I think. I'm not a hypocrite. And I think you need to look at what a hypocrite is. I haven't gone round being accused of beating up women or anything else. So I'm not a hypocrite. I don't play for Manchester United up front, so I'm not a hypocrite. I haven't done something and then benefited from it and then said that he shouldn't get that benefit. So I'm not a hypocrite. No one asks what is the best interest of the women and child involved. I want Mason to be the best father and partner possible. That's all that matters, says Tory. It's got nothing to do with playing up front with Man United. Nipple says you're wrong. Not wrong, just my opinion. And actually, I'm not, if you're not intelligent enough to occupy this chat, then go and find some other thing that suits your propaganda because we've spoken about it on both sides. And I don't understand, if you do want him back, why you have to try and wind people up. I don't get it. It's a sad reflection on yourself. Love the streams, Mark, says Odran. And you could dedicate a show to sexual harassment. No, says Bombay. No. And Leroy says you're Qatari in, but Mason out. But look, in relation to Qatar and Saudi Arabia, I don't run around wearing rainbow laces. I don't run around, doing, any sort of thing that makes me think that Qatar or Saudi Arabia are are bad. I've never done anything like that. So I'm not a hypocrite. And in relation to Qatar, as I've said before, I'm not pro Qatar. I'm not pro Sheikh Jassim. I'm not. I want them to buy Man United because they're the only people that will clear the debt and buy the whole club. That's my stance on that. So if Elon Musk, if Sheikh Jassim was only buying half the club and keeping the Glazers, and Sir Jim was buying all of the club and clearing the debt, I'd be pro Sir Jim. It's what they represent in a buy of Manchester United, not what they represent as a country. So look, at the end of the day, that's where we are. I apologise that the show sort of descended into that, and I knew it would, but I just felt that I needed to put my stance out there. And I know some people will be moody about it, some people will understand it, but I'm not going to be called. I'm not going to be called some of the stuff I got called on Twitter yesterday. But look, thanks for all the positive messages in there, and I just want to say as well, there's a lot of people in there that want Mason Greenwood back playing who have put some really good comments in. So, as I say, it's not a dictatorship. I'm not saying that you're wrong if you want him back, and I just won't share your enthusiasm and excitement. I'm just not there with that. But that's life, isn't it? That's how it works. Not everything that you think happens should happen. Thoughts on Ramos only going for €80, says Daniel. Well, I hope it's 80 million euros, Daniel, because 80 euros is ridiculous. Look, as I said at the start, PSG wanted Rasmus Højlund. We got Rasmus Højlund. PSG go for Ramos, and people are saying we should have gone for Ramos. So Ten Hag and Manchester United chose Rasmus Højlund, and PSG chose Rasmus Højlund. We got Rasmus Højlund. PSG go for their second choice, and people are saying we should have gone for Ramos. But PSG wanted Rasmus Højlund ahead of Ramos, and we've made the right choice. Ramos is a good player, and I think if he'd been the number one target, we'd all be talking about what a good player he is. It's very similar to Mason Mount for me. Look, was Mason Mount a surprise signing? Yes. Do I trust Eric Ten Hag? Yes. Rasmus Højlund, I personally would choose, but I'm quite happy with what we've done on that one. My internet is starting to fade a little bit. I can see it's pissing about a lot here, so I'm just going to end the stream. But we've got quite a good show coming up for you later on around the sale of Manchester United. Get ready for that. An interview coming up around 2 o'clock, so get ready for that. Thanks everyone for watching. Legends in the chat as usual. Sorry that the internet's been a little bit up and down. And have you seen the Rashford interview out of curiosity, says Cooks? I haven't. I've read some of the quotes. I don't find those things very interesting. Whether it's Martinez, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford. Current player interviews don't really do anything for me. They never have. I don't know why. I just don't find them interesting. And look, I like Rashford, I like Bruno, I like Martinez, but I've just never been... Ooh, controversial take. But I'm definitely in the minority on this one. I don't find current player interviews that interesting because I'm not saying it's PR, but I already know everything about current players. I just don't find them that interesting, but I'm sure it's a good interview. Thanks everyone for watching. Legends in the chat as per usual. Respect and try and respect others. It's really important, but have your own opinion. Have your own opinion. Thank you very much. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.